Welcome again to Nick Cardinal fans to another edition of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. And Coach Cruzy, here we are today after the first conference ball game, a tough 27-24 loss against McHenry. We gave up 20 early and scored 24 straight. I mean, what can you say? I saw a lot of positives. I really did in the ball game.
There were a lot of positives, and the frustrating things for us as we go back and look at the film is, we come out like week one and spot a team a lot of points and then have to battle our way back into it.
Right.
Really similar how the games, played out as far as, us coming back out in the end of the third quarter, end of the second quarter, third and fourth quarter, and taking the lead and going up and doing all those things. The frustrating things as we look back at it are the turnovers and the lack of takeaways on defense, and then we missed way too many tackles on defense. And those are things you can't do and win ball games.
The real killer was we drive down the 4-yard line and we have a fumble. We find out later, and I'll bring this up, that it really wasn't a fumble. Those are things you have to overcome. Then we had a fumble with Cook and found out later it really wasn't a fumble. And possibly we're talking about a 10-point swing there. And I'm not on the show here to grade on the officials. I'm just saying that's part of the game, and I think me and you both understand it. But you really do take the total game in context. It was very similar to Concordia. We really didn't play well the first quarter, and I think your coaching staff and kids would admit that. And then from that point on, you dominated the football game.
If you take the two offensive fumble calls out of it and you really look back at it, we really did do some really good things offensively.
Extremely
from
good.
the start of the game. There's two drives there that get halted because of called fumbles and those things. Whether they were or whether they weren't fumbles, you can debate it all day long.
Sure.
You can watch the film and think you have a pretty good idea of what didn't happen. But, our message to our players was, and our players know this, don't give them the opportunity to have to make a judgment call.
And that's a good teachable way to look at it.
At the end of the day, when there's an end of a play, hand the ball back to the official. That way it transferred from your hand to their hand. And we've got to protect the ball better in those situations. And whether at the end of the day it was from a rule standpoint, a fumble or wasn't a fumble, those are teachable things for us in the future to make sure we're handing the ball back to the officials. That way we know there's no margin for error there on any missed calls or anything like that. But if you look at those things, we did some really good things offensively throughout the game. Defensively, we just missed way too many tackles.
I thought that was one of our worst execution on fundamentals of tackling in a long time.
Yeah,
do you have any idea
I don't know.
Situation
it was
there?
Extremely frustrating. We got guys in space and we didn't get them on the ground, and that's a big emphasis for us this week. Last week our emphasis was third down because that was kind of our Achilles heel in the Valpo game, and we were I think 9 for 12 on third and fourth downs, or 8 for 12 on third and fourth downs where we were successful. So we got that goal. As far as what we're shooting for there. Right. But, we didn't tackle very well. And, it's a simple game, as we talked about to the players and we all know is blocking, tackling, taking care of the football, and taking the football away.
That's it.
That's winning and losing. Every week in football, no matter what level you talk about, that's winning football. Blocking well, tackling well, maintaining possession of the ball, and taking the ball away on defense. That's how you win football games. And taking the ball in defense and special teams, which is a big push for us as well, and always has been. We didn't do some of those things well. We were -3 in the turnover takeaway. For whatever reason, if you say those were not fumbles, it doesn't matter. They were called fumbles. So
that's the most significant figure in football, as you well know, is the turnover ratio. And if you're on the negative end, you're going to lose football games.
-3, the statistics say you're going to lose 92% of the time. We were -3 week 1. We were -3 week 3. We are 1 and 2 right now. The game we win week 2, we're +3.
Yeah.
And we win. Yeah. It's not rocket science. And, those are things that we're continuing to work on and become better at. Frustrating that it turned out the way it did because we thought we did some really good things. There's some tremendous defensive play in the second half, as you saw.
Yeah.
Some big-time stops.
I thought we made some real good adjustments after when you guys went into halftime.
Yeah, and, we turned the ball over, kind of backed up, and the defense comes out, and we get off the field, don't allow a score, a field goal, or, a touchdown. And
they had the bad snap on the punt.
Bad snap on the punt, so we get one back there. We get some things in the kicking game, the offense had a couple really, really nice drives. The one at the end of the half where we score with 3 seconds left in the half to get some momentum going into halftime and come out and we're fortunate enough to recover an onside kick coming out and go down on that drive and score. And so, boy, there's some extremely positive stuff from the game on Saturday. There's 3 or 4 frustrating things offensively. We gave up some sacks late in the game to a 3-man pass rush that we should have never given up. And, the turnovers on the offensive side, and then defensively, your frustrations are in lack of tackling and getting guys down in space that athletically we feel were good matchups for us. And, in the special team side of things, we had some really good things. We had some good things happen in the return game.
Right.
We
been real consistent.
Yeah, we get the guy down on a bad snap in the punt and give us put us in a scoring situation. Our field goals, that part of the PAT and field goals, which we struggled with a little bit the week before on the PAT part of it, that operated well. Our punt team and some of those things. So, there's like a lot of extremely positive stuff. It's the things that make the biggest difference in the games, and the turnover and tackling and blocking that we've got to be a lot more consistent with. And last week, that was our main thing we focused on when we talked was, consistency. We showed we can do it now. Now, can we be consistent at doing it, play in and play out? And that's our focus. That's what we got to get to.
Well, in the next segment, we're going to talk about all the positives in the ball game, and there was a lot on all three sides of the ball, defense, offense, and now on special teams. And we'll get to that in the next segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook.
Foreclosure, repossession, garnishment. Costello and Farah can fight for you.
Are creditors threatening to take your property or your money? My office has helped thousands of people in the Kansas City area protect their assets through debt reorganization or bankruptcy protection. Call my office at 816-505-HELP and see if we can help you protect your assets and get you back on your feet.
The attorneys of Costello and Farah, lawyers who will fight for you. Call 816-505-HELP today.
Cardinal fans, welcome back to another segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. And Coach, enough of the negative, and that isn't the way we roll. Let's talk about the positive. I saw, like you said, a lot of good things happen. Let's talk about some of the kids. And let me start it out a little bit. The thing I had an opportunity at the coaches show after the ball game at Tanner's to talk to Sean. I've gotten fairly close to him, and I really think the receivers are coming on, and I like to maybe start out on a positive with that because I think they're really showing some progress.
Yeah, as you and Sean discussed after the game out at Tanner's in your kind of one-on-one interview with him, I think he felt as comfortable on Saturday with them as he's felt, and we did spreading the ball around and getting a lot of guys involved, and he doesn't have to specifically, as he said, target one individual.
Yeah, that was a good point.
He feels good about the spacing we've got with guys now and the ability and the skill sets of each one of them, and he's throwing through the guy that's open, not just the guy that he wants to throw open. And so those guys have done a nice job. And the unsung part of what they do is they're doing a good job in the run game as well, especially you go back to the Valpo game and some of the things they did downfield that allowed us to score on some long scoring plays in the Valpo game was tremendous from their standpoint.
Yeah, a lot of people just think it's about catching the ball, but if you're going to be a successful receiver in college, in particular, you got to get down on people, and that'll make a difference in your running game.
Right, absolutely, and it's the a couple guys that I know in the profession that coach wide receivers. We spent a couple days with the Tennessee Titans during OTAs this summer, and their wide receiver coach, who's tremendous, been a lot of different places in the National Football League. His philosophy is, hey, no block, no rock, and you're not going to block, you're not getting the ball, and we've
it's a motivating factor.
Exactly, because as a player, you want the football in your hands, and And you got to earn that opportunity. That's a reward for doing all the other things right, and I like what we're getting from that group right now.
Well, let's switch it to defense a little bit, and I saw growth in the linebackers as well.
Yep.
We talked about fits on the run game in different situations against Concordia in first ball game of the year. I see definite growth from all three of the linebackers and the kids in those positions, and doing a much better job of understanding what Coach Williams really wants.
You know, we were fortunate to get Nick Messer back in the action on Saturday night in a little bit more of a limited role, but having him out there was good again, and he and Marcus Moye and Carmichael and Jimmy, and you know, Jimmy has a lot of plays on the stat sheet. I think if he was sitting here, he'd tell you there's a lot of things he could do better from an alignment standpoint, and some of those other things, and all of them right now. You know, they're all young. Is what we forget about that group is, you know, Jimmy's a redshirt sophomore, Nick's a redshirt sophomore, Marcus Moye's a redshirt freshman. You know, some of those guys that are in there playing for us right now, and Carmichael's coming off of not playing a year ago for us.
Which is like, you know, really starting over again.
Exactly. So, you know, in the first 3 weeks here, there's a lot of growth that's happening and needs to continue to happen with that group. And what's nice is they all have the ability to run and are physical type players, and we like where we're getting there.
Specialty teams, I've got to start out talking about specialists. Great call by you and Weeble. Weeble, get on me about that one.
Yeah.
Calling him Weeble. Anyway, great call.
Yeah.
Great call. Halftime timing was great. Execution was wonderful. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, you know, those are things that you look at on film throughout the week, and you know, Coach Weigel's good at seeing those situations, and we talk about it, you know, 3 or 4 times throughout the week of how we want to handle that, when's the right opportunity, and you know, we'd kind of set that up from the opening kickoff, just how we positioned ourselves with a coin toss and some of those other things.
You caught him.
You never know if it's gonna work out the way you plan it. And
you caught him flat-footed, though. I talked to Weigel after the ball game, and I mean they were flat-footed on the play.
You know, and it was good execution by our players. You know, you can call those things all you want. If it's not executed, then so the credit goes to those guys. You know, it was me being, and Coach Weigel maybe being a little bit gambling a little bit, and you know, taking a chance that our players were going to go execute it, and they did. And when you do that, you have more confidence as players and as coaches in some of those situations in the future. So, you know, is that going to be a staple of what we do? No, but we'll, you know, just like anybody, you like to capitalize on opportunities when you have them, and that was a good play, a well executed play.
Well, I think that started the fire, though. I thought the kids really caught fire. I thought that it was really a positive motivator for them going the right direction. Like I told Coach, I thought it was a great call at that particular time of the ball game.
We felt like we had motivation coming out of halftime because we score with about 6 seconds left on the clock, and you know, and then we kick off and they fair catch it and we go into halftime. So we had a lot of momentum going into the half, and that one was another big momentum play to kind of pile it on a little bit from a momentum standpoint, and we take that drive down and score, and that's when it kind of really started going, was that last of the second half, and that play was another big play for us starting the half off, and we kind of got rolling after that.
Yeah, you did. You definitely did. What you know, can't let the cat out of the bag, but the adjustments on defense, you could really see them, you know, when you came out. A big difference, and you really shut down. The thing I noticed, and I asked Bess and Ed about this, is the screen game. You shut it down.
You know, I think
in the second half
we had better angles, maybe. You know, I think if Coach Williams was sitting here, he'd smirk a little bit, and you know, because he knows what the adjustments were, and I know what the adjustments were, and I think he'd sit here and tell you that there wasn't a lot of adjustment to scheme.
Right.
It was more a mentality adjustment and more of a, you know, understanding of angles adjustment more than anything, and we were far from perfect in the second half, but we played with a different kind of bravado, I think, and momentum does that. Momentum does that for you. You know, and the momentum we had going as a team, you know, resonated throughout the team for that stretch throughout the second half, and that was good to see.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really think that you guys, like I said on the call, made a big difference in that. We'll get back with you with the next segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. We'll have cross-country coach come on, and we'll talk a little cross-country, and then we'll have Coach come back on and talk about the homecoming week.
My name is Jesse Limeculer, CEO of Belvoir Winery, 110 years in the making. We do a lot of events, baby showers, wedding showers, anniversaries, birthdays, and weddings. The building itself that the winery is in was an orphan's home and a poor home. The other buildings were nursing homes, and then the last building on the end was an old hospital. It was the only hospital in the Northland for about 35 years. It was run by the Oddfellows until 1992. My family took it over at that point, kind of been working on the winery ever since. Uniqueness is what you see when you come into the building. The old floors are 110 years old, the stairs with their original wear going all the way back to the orphans. The outside brick exterior that they just don't make anymore. All those kind of things add to the uniqueness of the event space. We have the gazebo out front, which is where people get married usually. It's a marble gazebo. We have the fountain running and have a gazebo up for all the wedding days and special days out here. We're open 7 days a week, 11 to 4 Monday through Wednesday, 11 to 8 Thursday through Saturday, and 12 to 6 on Sunday.
Welcome back, Cardinal fans, to another segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. And this time around, we've got the head girls, or I should say men's and women's cross-country coach, Coach Gerard, and it's good having you here. And you got to explain to me what you and Tom are doing as far as the organization of the cross-country and track teams. Help me out a little bit on that.
Well, sure. There's been a little bit of a switch of titles here and there, and but it's worked out really well so far. I was the assistant cross-country coach last year and assistant track coach, and Tom was the head cross-country and head track coach. And now we've talked about it, and I've kind of been given the promotion this year as far as being head cross-country coach. I'll still stay on for assistant track coach and coach the distance program. But Tom's a one-upper, he always likes to be in control, and I love that about him too. And so he's now director, so Tom will always be my boss.
Yeah, well, that's good. It sounds like it's working out good. Now, you guys were at Southern last weekend. Why don't you talk a little bit about the meet there?
Well, sure. Yeah, we went down to Joplin. Had a good trip. I mean, the kids enjoyed staying overnight and doing some fun things
Great weather.
down there. Beautiful weather. Women raced at 8:30 in the morning, and the men at 9:45, and it was just a gorgeous day, great competition, kind of a fast course too, so it definitely helped out. But we had some great times from both the men's and women's side. We had Jessica J.J. Shockley that paced the women's program. She ran a 19:50, which is just 3 seconds off of her PR from last year.
That's great early.
That's great, and we still have 5 weeks till conference, and regionals is after that, and so that's really exciting. We had just a lot of the returners set some huge goals too. Caleb Teague, he's a junior with the program, and
from Blue Springs.
He's from up here in the Missouri area, and he ran under 27 for the first time and set a PR by 35 seconds for a lifetime PR. So that was really big for him too. So it was a great coming out party for the Jewell Cardinals to represent well, and we had 5 PRs amongst all the kids that ran that day.
You got a lot of grandmas and grandpas, mom and dads listening, and they don't understand all your track lingo, PRs, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But track's just a little bit like swimming. They're kind of very much alike. You want to peak at the right time. Why don't you talk about that? Because you don't want your best times right now. You want them later on, particularly during your conference time, and then qualify to go on to nationals. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, sure. As we kind of set up a program every year, we're always training for the postseason meets. So we're always training for conference. After that is regionals, and if you qualify, then you can make it to nationals. So like you talked about, don't want to run your best times or be just kind of flying out of the wheelhouse, this time of year. So we definitely, both Coach Tom and myself have been working together and putting together this program to help the kids. Now, it's really exciting that this time of year that we're already running PRs and we're already running really well, and so that's really good. I think that's a good sign because
sure, I understand.
Because we are working towards conference and we are working towards regionals, but as it stands right now, people are running some great times, and so I think that only shows that we're going to be a pretty strong team come here in 5 more weeks.
You might want to tell the Cardinal fans, too, a little bit about how you qualify to go to the national meet and regional meet and continue on through the process.
Well, sure. Well, we'll have our conference meet coming up here October 26th.
Where at?
And that'll be that'll be hosted out east. It will be in St. Louis at Forest Park. So traditionally pretty flat, fast course too. So the kids are excited about that. Even though Liberty's made out of hills, they're excited to get out.
It's flatter, it's going to be easier to run.
It's going to be easier. It's going to be faster, less time to run. So that's exciting too. Yeah, I mean, they're. So
their times, they have to qualify now. Let's say if you're a winner, but it's all on times, right?
Well, it's actually all on placings.
Okay.
So since cross-country courses differ, tracks are all the same, them all being.
Yeah, that's true.
So with cross-country, it's all about placing. So there's so many teams that will make the national meet from the regional meet. So from our division here within the Division II conference, we have 5 teams that'll make it out. And so you have to be within that top 4 or 5, and then there are some spots for individuals too that qualify.
How tough is the conference as far as cross country is concerned? I know it's extremely tough in men's and women's basketball. There's certain sports like in any conference all over the country that are really good in its particular sports.
Yeah.
Where's cross country fit in as far as Division II sports in this league?
Well, the GLVC is good at what they do. I mean, I think through and through, it's a pretty good conference, and especially cross country. We have both the men's and women's team, at least one team that has been in the top 25 the past 2 years at least, and so typically we'll get 2 or 3 teams from our conference that are in the top 25 nationally ranked. So. It's definitely.
That's real solid.
It's really solid, So we definitely have our work cut out for us, but we're excited. Like I said, we're running some great times now, and so they're excited that around the corner here in a little over a month that we'll be definitely breaking down some barriers and knocking on some doors that we'll be moving up in the conference, and that's everyone's goal. Well,
Coach, do me a favor, tell Coach Eisenhower and both the men and women good luck in the season, and hopefully you get a lot of people and do well in the conference and continue those PRs going up. Well, I guess downward is one sport. I should say upward, but I always mean downward. But good luck to you guys the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And that's the end of this segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook.
Tanner's is new to Liberty, just south of the Highway 152 and I-35 intersection. Their happy hour specials every day are served from 2 different areas, and the patio section is now enclosed for meetings or other gatherings. Join us home football Saturdays for the Cardinal Live postgame show with head football coach Jared Cruzy, and come in any day for food specials in the spacious dining area. Tanner's of Liberty, just south of the Highway 152 and I-35 intersection.
Before the game or after the game, it's Poor Boy Oil Company for your pre- and post-game food and beverage. ConocoPhillips and BP Amoco Fuels get you to the game, and our large vendors give you great food and beverage choices before or after the game. Our small-town roots and family value philosophies help us to maintain the highest standards in customer service and value. Poor Boy Oil Company. Find us around the Northland, wherever the Cardinals fly.
Hi, this is Kurt McCoy with Shop Local 365 KC. Shop Local 365 KC, the new home of MetroFreeStuff.com, promoting local businesses and community organizations. Find us online at www.shoplocal365kc.com. Shop Local 365 KC, the new home of MetroFreeStuff.com. Proud to support William Jewell Athletics.
Cardinal fans, welcome back to Inside the Cardinal Playbook. In our last segment here, we're going to talk about homecoming weekend, which is always big. I always know as a head coach, it was tough to keep everybody's focus because it was homecoming, but we got South Dakota School of Mines coming down. We beat them last year. And Coach, how do you feel about homecoming and playing South Dakota again?
I always thought it was just a high school thing, and you had to worry about all the distractions during homecoming, but I've realized everywhere I've been in college, it's not a whole lot different, as there's just a lot more activity and things surrounding the game and potential distractions if you let them be distractions in this week. So, that's a focus for us too, is trying to keep guys focused on what's important for us this week as far as the game on Saturday at 1 o'clock. And South Dakota Mines is 3-1 right now, and they're playing good football. And we went up there last year and on the road for a long road trip and got a nice win, and we need to try and replicate that. But they're a different team than they were a year ago too. They're a year better, one more
they had
year
a lot of
with their
young
coaching
kids.
staff, and they're still in some transition like we are as far as trying to build and grow your team, and so it'll be an interesting contest, and we'll have to do the things that we didn't do as well last Saturday, no matter who you play.
Can't have -3 on the turnovers.
You
just can't.
And we've got to take the ball away on defense, and we got to tackle a whole lot better. So there's a lot of things that we look at that, there's a lot of things we look at with South Dakota Mines and know we've got to stop. But is it more about them, or is it more about taking care of the things we can control with our team? And that's going to be a huge focus for us this week, of doing those little things with our team right, and feel that if we do that good things will happen on Saturday.
Well, that goes right back to, I think, the premise that we talk about all the time is learning how to win.
Right.
You look at your win, your +3 on the turnover ratio,
Yep.
and your -3 on the 2 losses. And you said it best, football's a simple game. You have to do these things.
Yeah.
You got to block, you got to tackle, and the turnover thing, you got to take care of the ball.
Yeah.
And you've got to get turnovers.
You
And
gotta
if you do that, you're playing at a level now where you can beat people as long as you don't make the mistakes that are involved in the game.
Right, exactly. And that's not just at our level. That's at every level of football, anywhere you go.
Pop
watch it.
Warner
Pop
on.
Warner to high school, to
Exactly.
junior high, to college, to the National Football League. At any level, those are the keys to the game. So it's not, there's no grand epiphanies on what we need to fix and do better in our 2 losses. Those are the things, and at the end of the day, it's my job to make sure we're getting those things fixed and doing the things in practice that gets those fixed. And so it's a big focus for us, and South Dakota will roll in here on Friday, and
Long trip for them.
It is, and
We made it last year, and we were victorious going up there. It was a great trip up and a great trip back.
Yeah, and I think they'll enjoy their trip down. I'm assuming they'll leave on Thursday, kind of like we did last year, and they'll stay part way and take their time getting down here on Friday and
Probably
be
do
ready to
some
go
things around here.
Yeah, I think they'll enjoy being in the city as well, and so there's give and takes. When we went up there, we enjoyed the Mount Rushmore experience, and I'm sure they're going to do some things in the city while they're here, and for memorable things for their players. But the most important thing, I think their coach would sit here and say too, is what happens at 1 o'clock when we kick off on Saturday for that 3 hours of time when the game's going on, and that's going to be our focus until the whistle blows on Saturday.
Well, hopefully it's supposed to be a pretty nice day, I think, on a typical fall day. Well, we have a 1 o'clock start.
1 o'clock start.
And hopefully that the Cardinal fans will come out. I know last year we had a great atmosphere for homecoming. We had a big crowd, a lot of tailgating, a lot of good positive things going on, And I hope again this year that, we can duplicate that a little bit. I think it's important that the student body and everybody gets behind the football team because we're close.
Right.
Don't you agree?
Yeah, we're a whole lot closer than we've ever been.
Right.
It'd be nice to be sitting here 3-0 right now, and if we look back on it, we feel like we could be very easily, but we're not. So we've got to go from where we're at and move on from here and do everything we can to win the next one. And Saturday after the game, I know a lot of stuff going on too, the Hall of Fame stuff here on campus.
Yeah, you might want to talk about that just a little bit.
I think that starts at 5 o'clock, and with the social, and then the induction ceremony, I believe, is at 6, and then I know we've got a few things. We've got an appointment after the game, a standing invitation, you and I together. And
I'd like to talk about that a little bit, Cardinal fans. If you possibly join us, we had a great crowd really last week after a late night ball game. We started at 6, and we Coach and myself were both surprised, quite frankly, that that many Cardinal fans came out. Remember, this is your football team with your grandsons and your sons playing on it, and hopefully you'll get out there and support the coaching staff and everybody come over. But Tanner's a great place on Church Street, I believe, and they're great host. I had a good time. I got my boy Blake on there with me, and we interview Coach and talk about it. And Coach will usually have 2 or 3 players come on and visit about the game, how it went. It's a lot of fun. It's probably a venue where we're able to kick back and just be human beings and take a breath and talk to each other and get to meet each other. So I really hope this starts becoming a tradition that the parents and grandparents and girlfriends and everybody else will come to after the ball game. And hopefully we'll look forward to seeing you. Now remember, today, Saturday start is at 1 o'clock. It is South Dakota School of Mines. Again, we're going to get on the winning track and get her going. That's the end of this segment of Inside the Cardinal Playbook. We'll see you at homecoming at 1 o'clock on Saturday.